We're gonna knit because I don't know why. I have a rule with myself that I don't dive into certain topics on this channel just because this is my little safe space, and there's so much doom and gloom out there that we genuinely need positivity and hope coming from somewhere, because that's the only way we're going to make it. I personally have found for myself that one thing truly helps, which is being online just enough to get the headlines and know what's going on and just be informed and aware, but not so much that you are completely overwhelmed and devoid of hope. And then when you have the information you need, you put that away and you go out and interact with real human beings. Because when I'm on social media, I'm just like, everybody sucks. We all suck. This is the worst. I've never had less faith in humanity. But when I go outside on a walk, we smile at the people we walk past and say hi, and people compliment your outfits, and you talk to the neighbor lady and you say, I like your flowers, and she takes you on a whole tour of her most beautiful property and shows you around to all of her favorite flowers, insisting that you smell each and every one of them. And then you get to meet her dog Barlow, who's super adorable, and she takes you on a tour of her art studio. Just a reminder that like most actual real living, breathing human beings are good people. That's my personal belief. Getting out into the world and being reminded of that is kind of essential. I choose to believe that everything's going to be okay because we have to make sure that it's okay. We have to. That's the only option. It's going to be okay because it has to. So to preserve my sanity and remind myself I'm human, I'm going to make and craft and create. I'm going to do some knitting. I'm going to do some sewing. I'm going to lament about some small inconveniences of life. I'm going to listen to some audiobooks. I'm going to touch grass, drink water, pet my cats. And if you do not take deep breaths on a regular basis, that is by far one of the best things I did. I realized I'm not a meditation person, but I love breathing exercises. If you do not take deep breaths on a regular basis, we'll do one together, but I encourage you to take like 4 solid deep breaths. All right, but we're going to do one together now, all right? 3, 2, 1. I'm going to do some more of those. You should do some more of those, but I'm going to pass the baton to future me. I believe a formal welcome is in order. Thank you for being here. I find struggle loves company, and I enjoy the company while I struggle. I have 3 projects I'm working on right now. Uncharacteristically, none of them are sweaters. This is new territory for me. Recapping my mission, I am on a mission to use up as much of my yarn as I can this year. Counterintuitively, I'm also trying to knit less. Pippin is just determined to poop in the wrong spot. A big shout out to Pippin for pooping in the correct location. I don't believe there's any need to dilly-dally further, and we should probably just dive into the projects. Project number 1 is a mitten that needs to be mostly unraveled. The vision for this mitten is I want it to be what I'm going to call like the sporty texter mitten. I want to be able to text easily wearing this pair of mittens. I want them to be sporty, I want them to be fitted, and I want them to be not too warm. I want to be able to wear these on in-between days where I don't want my fingers just like raw out in the cold, but not so warm that I need to take them off like halfway through my walk. And they need to have a little hole for my finger to come out of so I can text. And I only need it in one hand, which is the nice thing about making your own stuff. I think a lot of people forget the customization factor of knitting or making your own stuff. It's amazing. It's my favorite part. I do not need a pair of mittens with like special silver tips so that I can press my phone. No. I just want to be able to access one finger, my index finger on my right hand, nothing more. And I think a simple buttonhole will do the trick. I have been self-drafting this pair of mittens, and the fit is acceptable, but the fit could be exemplary, and I would like them to be exemplary. With something as small as a pair of mittens, I do not feel that settling for good enough is appropriate for me. My plan is to unravel this back to the cuff, and I want to extend the cuff so it's hugging my wrist for a longer portion. And I'm going to work in a couple decreases so it's not quite as roomy in the mittens. I will be taking notes on how I made these, so if I finish these and you happen to like them, that information will be available on my Ravelry. I've been taking notes on how I made these. They will not be super polished. They will not be tech edited. It is not a formal pattern, but if you would like to reference the notes to make some yourself, feel free to do that. Also keeping in mind that I have very small hands. If I buy gloves at the store, I need to buy the kids' size gloves. The adult ones are way too big. Step 1, unravel. It breaks my heart, but it has to be done. I recently took the plunge and bought the Xiaogu shorty set, and I've been loving them. I hate to admit it, I didn't want to buy another set of needles. I just knew I would get so much use out of them, and I am. Immediately, I'm getting so much use out of them. When it comes to doing small circumferences, I think my preference is definitely shorties, DPNs, magic loop. I prefer shorties because they don't throw me off of my rhythm like DPNs or especially magic loop does. I feel like magic loop just really, I have a hard time getting into a flow. But do you see what I'm saying as far as like, it's just a little bit, but it's a little bit of excess room that I don't need in here. I also don't remember what needle size I used for the cuff. It may be the same needle size, it may have been a smaller one, so I will need to experiment. I recently finished listening to the audiobook House on the Cerulean Sea. It had been on my list for ages and I just didn't feel like I would like it all that much. I loved it. I loved it so much, and right now I'm listening to the audiobook for the sequel, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. I'm like actively tearing up as I'm reading this. It's been a long time. I don't think a book has ever made me cry, or I can't remember a time that a book has made me cry, but this book has gotten close. It's just so wholesome. It's similar, if you've read Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, I think it's similar in concept to that. I read a couple of books in the series, but I didn't make it all the way through the series because I got bored, and I have not gotten bored with House on the Cerulean Sea yet. I do like the audiobook version, but I am also an audiobook kind of person. I tend to retain more when I listen to audiobooks, and I don't like skip over words and sentences, and my eyes don't drift, and I pay attention better. Back to talking about this project. The original inspiration for doing this project was wanting to work down my stash and use up my yarn. I happen to have 1.5 balls of this Drops Extra Fine Superwash Merino in this beautiful red color. And this was left over from my Northern Augustine's number 4 sweater. And I used some of the leftover red. I really overestimated how much red I would need for that sweater. I used some of it to make a little hat, and I want mittens to match the hat. And I think I have just enough yarn to make a pair of mittens. Fingers crossed. If not, worst case scenario, I can just do the tips of the mittens in this white color and do the thumb like in the white color, and that is totally fine by me, but I think I will have enough yarn. It has been a couple hours and we have made progress. Yay! All right, the fit, so much better than the first attempt. Look at that. Look at that fit. Is that not flawless? It's not, because nothing is flawless, but it's pretty close. I love it so much. Okay, we have run into a roadblock, which I did expect. I was hoping this wouldn't happen, but it was a possibility. I'm not gonna have enough yarn, I don't think. All said and done, when I weigh this and this together, it is 75 grams of yarn. However, when I weigh this, about half of a mitten, it's 25 grams. I know it's a little bit more than half, but if we think about it, it should be, all said and done when the mitten is complete, about 40 grams. And that's not enough to make 2 mittens. It's so close though. Now, I have several ways I could handle this. I could buy more yarn, which I'm not going to do because that defeats the purpose of me trying to use up my stash yarn. And I would only need such a small amount. I'd be left with basically a full ball of yarn at the end of the day anyways. Another option, which I think I mentioned earlier, is to do the top of the mitten in a different color, which is a pretty common like mitten design. If I did like the top portion in this like cream white color. Gosh, I love that. Another option is that I could move forward and hope for the best, that it'll just stretch out and I will have enough yarn. I think I want to pursue option 3, which is hope for the best, but plan for the worst. I would prefer it be a solid red mitten. Now, the next design decision that I need to think about is how fitted I want this to be. And I want it to be pretty fitted, especially because this is superwash merino, so it's gonna grow. But that being said, I think I'm gonna start decreasing very early. Normally, I like to do my decreases evenly because it just looks better. But on this one, I am going to have a right mitten and a left mitten and not 2 like identical ambidextrous mittens. And I want to start doing decrease shaping like right about here. Fingers crossed, it'll work out. Another half hour has passed and I have made progress, and I finished my audiobook and I loved it so much. I realized that the scale was not on a totally level surface before, so now the mitten measures 25 grams and I have 75 in total, which means I have 37 grams to work with per mitten. So it's cutting it pretty close, but I might actually be able to just do both mittens in the red without doing the white tops. So I'm just going to move forward and do that, and I can cannibalize the top and reuse it on the second mitten if need be. But I think I'm going to move forward and just finish this one. I am realizing that it's going to be a very weird shape because I'm going function forward on this one with knitting patterns. You can either be design forward or function forward, and some of the best designs are a balance of both. This one is definitely a bit more function forward, so it's going to be pretty shaped to my hand, and I'm realizing it's not going to have that like large, billowy, I don't know, mitten shape. Like it's not a cartoony mitten shape because it's going to be very shaped to my hand, but I am totally okay with that. I'm at a very exciting part right now where I'm going to do the little finger bit. My plan for this bit is to bind off, I don't know, how many stitches do we think I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bind off 6 stitches where my index finger is right here, then work the rest of the way in the round. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm going to bind off 6 stitches where my index finger is and then work all the way around, and when I get back to it, I'm going to backwards loop cast on 6 stitches and continue working in the round, and that'll give me like a buttonhole where my index finger should be able to slip through the mitten so I can use it to text. I don't like having mittens where the top parts comes over. I had that as a kid growing up, and I found them really finicky, and they like, I don't know. I just found them very finicky. This feels much more sleek to me, so we'll see how it goes. But that is the update on the mitten. Okay, also, I was thinking about it. And you know the saying, the world is your oyster? What does that mean? All right, I'm on the website No Sweat Shakespeare. The saying has mysteriously evolved from its original appearance in Shakespeare's comedy, The Merry Wives of Windsor. The actual quote is, "The world's mine oyster." Shakespeare reintroduces one of his most popular characters, Sir John Falstaff, as a con man planning to con 2 Windsor women out of their money. He has his unusual disreputables around him. Among them, a man called Pistol, who utters the immortal line, "The world's mine oyster," during a conversation about money. The conversation goes, "Falstaff, I will not lend thee a penny." Pistol, "Why then the world's mine oyster, which I with sword will open." It's clear that the original metaphor of the world being an oyster had violent connotations. In a sense, one has to use violence to open an oyster. Not anymore. With Pistol, we have the image of him forcing the oyster to get the pearl, and of him using his sword, making it doubly violent. Okay, so in this metaphor, the world's my oyster. The world is your oyster. The world's my oyster. This is why I went into engineering. The world is my oyster. Okay, so that would mean if the world is the oyster and you're the person trying to get into the oyster to get the good things out of life, does that mean you have to like fight life for the good things to happen? And that kind of is mean to oysters. We aren't fighting oysters. They're not doing anything bad to us except giving us dope pearls that look like really cute. Okay, life can be hard, but if you keep at it, it will sometimes unexpectedly give you a reward. Again, this seems rude to oysters. Life can be hard, but if you keep at it, it will sometimes unexpectedly give you a reward. So life is difficult like an oyster, like oysters are difficult to get open. I'm going to have to sit with this for a second. It's really not sinking in. Because when you're fighting an oyster, if you're choosing to throw hands with an oyster, you have the specific goal of getting a pearl. But when people are like, the world's your oyster, it's kind of like anything's possible. This one feels very goal-oriented, like the world is your oyster, very specifically goal-oriented. And the world is your oyster as we use it today seems very like open-ended of like, you have a specific action, which is I'm going to go do something, and I don't know what's going to happen. You're being so cute. Do you want to say hi? All right, let's talk about things and stuff. I want to show you the progress I have made on my mitten. It's looking phenomenal. It looks like a mitten and everything, just with a little buttonhole for me to change the podcast I'm listening to, or skip a song. It's the dumbest little feature, but I will get so much use out of this. And I do not live in a climate where it's so cold that this tiny little hole is going to compromise the heat integrity of my mitten. If you can see the blue barber cord here, the stitches have quite a bit of distance between them on the thumb. So when I go to do the thumb, I'm definitely going to pick up 2 stitches right on the inner portion here to help close that hole up. And hopefully there's not going to be a big hole right where my thumb is. I'm really happy that I unraveled every single section of this mitten in order to make it, because every single section worked out so perfectly. So far, still got to do the thumb. I'll probably have to unravel that too. But the cuff is fitted just right, and the body, everything is fitted just right. That brings me joy. Incredibly satisfying. I like filming at my computer because I can actually see what's on the screen. Otherwise, I can never see where I am on the screen and what you can see and what's being focused on and what's not and where Pippin is. She's having a great time. She's over by the donut lamp. I got the IKEA donut lamp that everyone else did, and I love it. I am at this point thinking I will have enough yarn to finish both mittens and have them be completely red, minus my 2 white stripe. This one fits just as well. And I will not be doing a finger hole for this one. That only needs to go on the right-hand mitten. Are you 2 up to a whole bunch of nonsense back there? They are. They are. Ladies, please. We have so few rules in this household. I don't know if I'm going to make like a whole thing of it, like make an announcement out of it or anything, but I do think I want to start pulling back on the amount of videos I'm releasing. Can't keep up with this schedule, and there's just so much to do for YouTube. Like, the further along I go, the more things I kept taking on or agreeing to, or the more, like, there's just little tasks that come up that I need to do on a regular basis. For anyone that's new here, I work a full-time job as an engineer, and that will always take precedent over this, as will everything in my life. Everything is a higher priority for me than YouTube because I'm not trying to pan this out into a career. My relationships will come first. My chores and household adulting responsibilities will come first. My work will definitely come first because I need that to live. But everything else is just kind of a lot right now, which means YouTube needs to be a little less. It's not a whole dramatic thing. It's not, that's why I don't want to do like an announcement. I don't want to make it more dramatic than it is. I'm just going to do a little bit less. I also found that I was working on videos that were just lower in quality, and they weren't what I wanted them to be. They could have been better. They were just lazy, and I don't want to do that for the sake of uploading a video. I'd rather spend more time on each video and do less videos. Aside from that topic, I just finished the new Hunger Games book. So good. I have been so excited since I heard about this book being announced. I will explain my biases briefly. My first book that I ever read for fun was the Hunger Games book, and it was after I saw the first movie. And then I read the entire series. I have never been a reader. It was always my biggest struggle point in school. The Hunger Games was the first time that I read a book and was like, oh my gosh, these things can be entertaining. That's wild. But ever since I read the initial Hunger Games series, if I could have requested a single extra book to come out from the series, it would be a Haymitch-focused book, because when they described his Hunger Games and a little peek into his background in the book Catching Fire, I was so enthralled and emotionally invested. And I feel like the author has genuinely, like Suzanne Collins, I feel like she's genuinely improved as an author. I'm curious to see if other people liked it or not, but I just want to declare before anyone else gives their opinions or before I get exposed to them, I do genuinely really like this book. And if a bunch of people turn around and say that it's like the worst book they've ever read, I think I will still be pretty confident that I did like the book. That's it for audiobook talk for now. I'm going to see if I can just finish these mittens in the next couple days and move on to the next project. It is so sunny and warm right now. I know it's going to go back to being rainy, but it's like 75 degrees Fahrenheit outside right now, and nary a cloud in the sky. Really warm, just in time for me to work on my mittens. All right, talk to you later. I really need to get around to just re-knitting this sweater vest because it's so short in the front. Like, it's so short. This is my belly button. This is where it ends. And that's on me. There's so much extra fabric back here. So I need to re-knit this. I need to remake it, take away the short row shaping. Maybe I should talk about the mittens. Should I talk about the mittens? Should we keep going on a sweater vest tangent? Who knows? The mittens are finally done, and they're perfect. I am so glad that I re-knit every piece of it. 100% worth it on this project for sure. I like my little finger hole. It's so silly. These are definitely going to be, I think, my go-to winter mittens next year. Unfortunately, it's just in time for it to not be cold outside. So they will have to wait a year, but I really like them, and I really like this sporty look. This is exactly what I wanted. I feel like I'm wearing socks on my hands. Brings me so much joy. It actively looks like I just have socks balled up on my hands right now. I'm just so happy with the fit. They just fit so perfectly. One would almost say they fit like a glove. Oh, and I totally had yarn left over. I have like 10 grams of this yarn left over. Wild. I would give these mittens an 8 out of 10. The only thing that could improve them is just a higher quality material. I'm happy with the finger shaping. I'm glad I started the shaping further down on the pinky side than on the index finger side, which I know is common in mitten patterns. I've just never done it before. And I like the thumb increases. So yay for mittens. And they just look so clean and perfect. I don't know. Should we move on to the next project? I think we should. The next project is a sewing project. I am working on a pair of pants. These are the Lane Pants by Sydney Graham, and they're just a really good flowy basic linen sewing pattern that's really easy to follow. She has a video tutorial to go along with them. I have made these pants before, but this project has been really slow going because I totally fell out of my like sewing hyperdrive mode. Like I was so crushing it. I was excited. I'm finally into sewing. It's finally happened after all these years of not really liking sewing all that much. I'm in love with it now. And then I fell out of love with it again. So it's been a little slow going, but I'm not giving up. I want to enjoy the process of sewing the same way I enjoy the process of knitting, but for now, I just like the product. I like the thing I get out of sewing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would love to build up a small arsenal of this exact pants pattern in all the different colors. I still have a lot of work to do. I have a pocket and I've done both the side seams on the legs. And for these pants, I don't have a serger, so I'm just doing French seams all the way around, which I love. I love the look of a French seam. This was my first time ever working with actual linen, so it does squiggle around a little bit more. I thought it would definitely behave more like cotton, but this is good to know, and I wanted to avoid stretching it out as I'm sewing it because I have a tendency to do that just to make sure that this line doesn't get all like ripply and weird, and hopefully it can just lay totally flat on my leg. A couple months ago, I was just making some boxers, and this is before I found the Lane Pants pattern, and was self-drafting them from a pair of boxers that I already owned. And first off, love these, need more in my closet. I've been wearing them as pajama shorts, and I'm really excited for summer because I'm just gonna live in these. But what I did for this is I folded over the fabric and tucked it under the elastic in here and sewed it in place so that the edge of the fabric is totally encased and there's gonna be no fraying issues. It's really clean, and I love the feel of that as well as the look, and it just feels a little bit more durable, even though that's completely psychological. But for the Lane Pants pattern, for simplicity and to make it a little bit more beginner friendly, actually no, I don't want to postulate why she made this decision. And she does have access to a serger, so it would probably be better with the serger, but you're sewing the top band separately onto the pants. I did tell myself that next time I make these, I wanted to do it the same way I did the boxers, where I tuck it under. And I cut out all my fabric to do that properly, except I forgot to do it on the pocket, the inner pocket. So I had to cut everything down. I won't be able to do that method, so I'll just do it the same way I did these pants. And next time I will try and remember to do it for the pocket as well, so I can have my fully encased waistband. One thing about this project, and you can tell me if I'm crazy, so Blackbird Fabrics is a pretty popular, I think it's a Canadian-based fabric online store. And hearing so many people raving about it, decided to order material from it and love the material. I can't wait to see how it ages. I really hope these pants last a long time. I have a constant issue of the inner thighs rubbing together and it getting thin and fraying and breaking. So I am hoping this can hold up a little bit more to that scrutiny. But when I ordered the fabric, it's the color celery. And it's a really bright, like yellowy, fun green. And this is so close in color. But this reads as so much darker and more olivey, way less saturated. It's just not as bright and fun. I don't blame them. Maybe it's the setting that my iPad has for color and the screen just showed it as being different than it actually is in real life. There are so many reasons why the color can appear different online than in person. But I've noticed with the other fabrics that I purchased from Blackbird, the fabric in person is a little bit darker and a little bit less saturated. I'm sure there's an expert in the comments that'll pipe in about why that is. Not that I don't care about why that is. I'm less concerned. I'm gonna move on because the fabric is what it is. I am gonna debate dyeing it. I'm just so lazy when it comes to dyeing stuff. In my head, I'm just like, yeah, I can dye it. I can always just dye it, that's fine. But it's effort. I did extra long drawstrings on this pair of pants that I made, and the drawstring goes down to like my knees. I love having like a really long drawstring just flapping in the breeze. Something about it makes me happy, so I'm definitely going to do that for this one as well. I'm not going to share the process of this. I'm just going to power through, and you're here to be my accountability partner to make sure that I actually get it done.
Stay away from that old Viper man. Don't you take that fruit he's holding in his hand. Just one bite and you'll be swinging with the band. If you hang around that old Viper man, if you should come across a Viper in the night, that's when you get the hit that makes you feel alright. You'll be high and trouble's out of sight, so don't you hang around that Viper in the night. You'll be high. You take one hit and you'll be swinging with the band when you hang around that old Viper man. If you hang around that old Viper man and let temptation lead you by your lily hand, you'll be moving your body to the dance when you cut it with that old Viper man. You'll be high.
They're done. Finally finished them. You don't understand. I had the pieces for this cut out for 4 months, and I am just now finishing them. Yay. Thank you for being my accountability partner. I appreciate it. As much as I am a little salty about the color not being exactly what I expected, I don't know if I'm going to change it just because I feel like this goes really well with the existing clothes I have in my wardrobe. I know the sweater I'm wearing right now doesn't exactly match these pants, but I still think they look really good together. But the green is basically the exact same green in this sweater, and I think it goes really well with this sweater vest. I'll probably keep it this way, but I'm also lazy, so getting around to dyeing it, it's just another chore. So I mentioned before that these pants are made from linen from Blackbird's fabrics, and I ordered at the same time the same amount of fabric in this pink color. It's the same type, and I do have enough of this to make a pair of pants, but I'm starting to think that this pink color might be better as shorts, and I might wear it more with my summer wardrobe, because I think my winter closet, I don't see this color melding well with a lot of my winter items. So, I'm leaning towards shorts, but I'm also going to give it some time. I'm going to let it sit. I'm not in a rush. I'm also debating if I do shorts on those, doing longer shorts. I never like the look of longer shorts on myself just because I'm a really short, wide person, and I'm not a fan of the look of wide shorts, but they're so much more comfortable, and chafing is a real issue, so I don't know. Maybe I should go into stores and try on some longer shorts and just see if I like it there and if it's worth making a pair. I guess I could always shorten them, so I may as well just if I do make shorts out of that, making a longer pair and then shortening them later could be a good move. I also have some of this fabric left over. I don't know exactly how much, I don't know where I put it all, but I think I have maybe like a yard or so left, and I'm wondering what to do with that. I kind of like the idea of getting more of this fabric in a different color, like getting a yard of this fabric in a color that would go really good with this green, and doing like the color block shorts where half of it is one color and the other half is a different color. These are the things flooding my brain and I'm going to put off thinking about them because they don't need to be done right now and I can sit on it for a second. This is unrelated, but I have spent the past 3 years searching for the perfect denim jacket, and I've had this vision in my head of what I'm looking for, and I have not been able to find it in the past 3 years. But I was traveling recently and I went to a vintage shop and they had like 10 that perfectly fit the vision of what I wanted, all for like under $20. And I need to show you what I got. It's exactly what I wanted. I wanted oversized, effortless utility jacket that feels incredibly comfortable to wear. And it goes really good with these pants. I feel like I've shown you all the clothes that I purchased this year because I've bought 2 skirts, both of which I told you when I bought them, this jacket, and I bought a linen blazer. I can show you that if you want to see all the things I bought this year. Here's the linen blazer. I don't know if I would entirely style it with this outfit, but I have really loved wearing this. I found in a journal entry of mine from 2016 that I was looking for a white linen blazer, and I've been on the hunt. 9 years of searching. Found this. Now you're up to date on all the clothes I purchased this year. Yay! All in all, these pants are very successful. It is the lane pants pattern. Made them before. I continue to really like these pants. It's just a good basic pattern, and I don't get like the saggy butt that I get with all of my other store-bought linen pants. They just expect me to have the biggest butt ever if I'm wearing a size large or extra large, which I do not have. I have the butt of a size medium and the hips of a size extra large. Which is why making my own clothes is definitely a priority for me. And I like my 2 ties. I know it's kind of weird and, you know, not the norm. I love a drawstring. They just make me happy. I like fussing with them. And this one has 2 different drawstrings, and I just think it's a fun detail because why not? And I actually really like this fabric. So I am filming this after having finished them 3 weeks ago. We've done a big jump in time here, and I have worn these a lot. I have washed them in the washing machine multiple times, and they seem to be holding up really great. So that is definitely a good sign for the fabric. I'm definitely going to let you know over time how I feel certain materials are aging. I think it's one of those pieces of information that is essential that we give to one another, because it's a very important factor to me when I'm purchasing yarn and fabric, is just knowing how long is this going to last me and is it worth the amount of effort I'm putting into making it. Yeah, that's it for the pants. That's it for the whips this week. I am so happy to have these mittens done, and I'm sad that I didn't finish them in time to actually wear them at all this winter. But winter will be round before we know it, and I can wear these again, and I am going to fully enjoy summer while it is here. If you like seeing the Finishing My Whips videos, I'm actually really proud of the last one I made. I could have done a better job at the thumbnail, but if you haven't seen it already, I personally am really proud of that one, and I would recommend it. And I assure you, I do not say that about all of my videos. And if you're interested in future upcoming videos, there will be more. I have lots of whips that need to be finished, and I do make other types of videos. But here is an example of one of the whips that you might see coming up. And maybe not, you'll be able to see me being tortured and plagued by all these ends that I need to weave in, and we can talk about it. So yeah, lots to look forward to for you. I gotta weave in all those ends, so I don't know how much there's to look forward to for me, but I'll be here. If you haven't seen my previous Finishing My Whips video and you're interested in seeing it, it will be tagged at the end of this video. Adios.